Welcome to Film Crew. We have a very special guest today, Captain America himself, Chris Evans.
Yeah, they still use the slimming software from the first film.
Coming up on the drop zone, Cap.
You do anything fun Saturday night?
Well, all the guys in my barbershop quartet are dead, so... No, not really.
Okay, so we had a chance to see Captain America, the Winter Soldier last night, and man, what a movie. Scott.
Well, I think the short version of the review is it's awesome, go see it.
It is absolutely awesome. I mean, this is an Avengers movie, but it is a fantastic, action-packed, drama-filled, explosive, great movie. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, my initial thoughts were, one, I love Captain America, the character, in the first place. Two, I love the first movie. Three, I love the Avengers. And the guys who are directing this film have done a lot of Community, and I love Community.
Yes.
So really it was a case of, this can only go well.
Looks like you're giving the orders now, Captain.
Damn right.
I really like this character too. I like that he's a guy out of his time. I like that he's a naive, not totally naive, but he's kind of a naive, nice guy from the 40s. He's been frozen until now and woken up in this modern times. And I actually think that works to this film's advantage because he, in a world of so much grey, he's somebody who's black and white.
Yeah, it's a really good contrast to have a character who has such strong principles and morals of this is good, this is not.
Yeah.
To play against the whole idea of this world of greys that you get with the S.H.I.E.L.D. espionage world.
If they're shooting at you, they're bad.
And I think it works really well, and it's better than some of the sort of things that you've seen with the Superman movies where he's just good for the sake of being good.
Yeah.
You kind of understand more why Steve Rogers is the way that he is.
S.H.I.E.L.D. takes the world as it is, not as we'd like it to be.
This isn't freedom. This is fear.
I was reading Empire magazine before this film came out, and they were talking about how the makers of this film wanted it to be like a hark back to the 70s kind of political thrillers.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, it was exactly that. But it was also, of course, a very modern 2014 film, packed full of action.
I don't think you can overstate how
effects.
awesome the action is in this film. I mean, really, just any of the action sequences are fantastic, and they just keep topping themselves. And it's not distracting, you still have clear ideas of the geography and the layout and what's happening and who's doing what, but it's exciting and it's energetic and it's fantastic. I think it's by far the best action sequences we've seen in a Marvel movie so far.
I would absolutely agree with you on that. I mean, great stunt work, explosions, gunplay, car chases, special effects, of course, and a lot of them are very good. Talking about the story, I was very impressed with it. The way the Hydra element was interweaved throughout the S.H.I.E.L.D. Story, how they took elements from the first film. They didn't just disregard the first film, even though it was new directors and whatnot. And they took those elements, those good elements from the first film, and they brought them into the next film and amped them up to the next level. And that was excellent.
What about the nurse that lives across the hall from you? She seems kind of nice.
Secure the engine room, then find me a date.
I'm multitasking.
Black Widow and Captain America had a very cool bond.
Yeah.
They were the sort of friend level, almost an attraction there, but never really going to be anything in that direction.
It's great to see those two, and they have that sort of great chemistry together, but you know it's not necessarily a sexual chemistry.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, these characters are going to get together at the end of the movie.
Not at all. They've had this history together, haven't they? They've been through a lot, and they were bonding together because of this danger that they both faced.
And Scarlett Johansson, really, she needs to be headlining a movie. There needs to be a Black Widow solo movie.
She was so cool in that.
Just awesome.
You doing it, Scarlett? Yeah, you doing it.
But I was really surprised with how much I enjoyed Falcon.
Yeah.
I've known him from the comics for a long time. He's always been sort of Captain America's friend, and for a long time he was his partner, and they actually shared the title together. It was Captain America and the Falcon. And it was a question of, well, how are they going to bring this character into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Anthony Mackie really plays the character fantastically. He's solid, he's friendly. You understand why Steve Rogers would get along with him well.
Exactly.
And when it comes to the action sequences as well, you know, he brings it.
You okay? I'm not dead yet!
Now, talking about a 70s political thriller style movie, who better to cast as the main antagonist? Robert Redford.
Robert Redford.
Oh my god, I mean, the guy is freaking old. He's very old, there's no denying it. But he's so good. I mean, his character had a lot of dialogue, and it was quite a lot of exposition, but he just delivered it with such finesse. And you really believe that he had been, this guy had this whole backstory and history to his character, and man, he just nailed it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. You've got Robert Redford, he's an amazing actor, he has this authority and charisma, and you can understand why his character would be doing these things, and being able to convince other people to do these things as well. You know, they couldn't have cast better.
Are you ready for the world to see you as you really are? Look out the window. You know how the game works.
The Winter Soldier himself. Now, being a comic book fan, I knew what the twist was.
Oh, okay.
Well
See,
in
I
advance.
didn't.
People like yourself didn't, and I was really surprised at the number of people in the cinema that when that twist was revealed, it was like, you know, audible gasp. Which I thought was really great. It's worked out really well that they haven't overplayed that in the trailers or made that reveal for people that
they
didn't
did
know.
not give that away.
So for me, it was a case of going into it. Sure, I knew who he was. I knew what the whole setup was. But it's great that they've managed, through all the marketing that they've done, to not give that central spoiler away.
It's nice that in the film they alluded to Captain America's backstory, the characters that he knew from the past. Peggy was one of them that he met up with. And they mentioned Bucky, his friend Bucky, who died. But they didn't really like zoom in on it or anything to give away that, oh, wait a minute, this is going to come back in some kind of way. So when he was revealed, it was a real shock for the viewers. But man, I mean, taking a character like Bucky out of the first movie, who was almost a forgettable character, in my view, from the first movie, almost quite a forgettable, just his friend, and he died, fell off the train. And then to bring him back into this movie and give him such a role where he was this muscle-bound, masked badass who was kicking ass, it was awesome.
And of course, there's one character that we can't go without mentioning. We know him as Sam the Man Jackson.
Nick Fury.
He's elevated from post-credits teaser in Iron Man to central character in the Avengers to now being one of the headliners, and boy, does Sam Jackson bring it in this one.
Yeah, I loved how they gave him much more of a role to play, and he really had a role to play in this one. He wasn't just there for exposition or to look cool. He did look very cool, but he was there and he had a big action sequence in it on his own.
Completely on his own.
Yeah.
There was no other characters involved with it. It was just Nick Fury and the bad guys, and it was awesome. You didn't mind the fact that Captain America wasn't there saving his butt for it.
Yeah, he saved his own butt, and he killed a lot of dudes. It was great.
Get me off the grid!
Like all Marvel movies, of course, pretty much all of them. Stan Lee made a little appearance in this. He was playing a security guard.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it's always fun to see Stan pop up in these things. And you know, whether he's being fake Hugh Hefner or guy who drinks infected orange juice, or in this case a security guard. You know, he's just fun, and it's a lovely little nod. You know, there are a couple of nods to other Marvel things in there, and I was personally very excited by the little cameo from one of the members of the Community cast.
Oh yes,
awesome.
Cool.
I don't know if that means that Community is now officially part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but if it does, then it means that Abed is working possibly for S.H.I.E.L.D, possibly for Hydra. That's a whole nother level, which I don't think we want to get into. Cool.
Okay, so there's got to be some kind of negatives to this movie, surely. What can you think of?
Look, I had such a great time with the movie, it's really hard to come up with anything which doesn't feel like it's just nitpicking.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of was, as I said, for a movie which has The Winter Soldier as the subtitle for it, there's not necessarily that much of the Winter Soldier in there. It doesn't necessarily revolve around him as such. Yeah. But, you know, he he is a force on screen when he is there,
Yeah.
so I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel.
One
here
thing I
for
thought of
criticism.
that's ridiculous, but it's kind of funny, is that Nick Fury shouldn't maybe have been driving a car because he's only got one eye, and you don't have very good depth perception when you're driving with one eye.
But in fairness, he was driving a computer-assisted vehicle, so possibly in the Marvel Universe, it's okay to drive if you have one eye and you have a car, which is basically the car version of Jarvis.
Yeah, I mean, there's very little that is negative in this movie, to be honest, and we're not, like, trying to sound like we just love this movie to all ends, but it was really good.
It was so good.
Yeah.
So, that's our thoughts on Captain America the Winter Soldier. Definitely go see.
Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment away, and we'll see you guys next time.
Right, I'm going to put him to cryogenic suspension and chop his arm off. See you later.